So welcome to today's MTD Daily News. We've got a fascinating gentleman joining us today on the show and a really superb topic. Now, if you follow our channels, you'll know that MTD has a magazine. In fact, I've got one here. This is actually published bi-monthly. It's got some really cracking content in here, a lot of it of which is unique. One of the articles we're going to be discussing today with a gentleman called Kazra Miraki, who joins us. He's actually in Hungary at the moment, in Budapest. Kazra, welcome to today's MTD Daily News. How are you doing?
Hi.
Are you well?
I'm fine. Yeah, sure.
Now, I believe you're stuck in Budapest at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, right? Yeah, because of all the flights and everything is being cancelled. So, yeah, it's a nice city and it's a nice time to be here, I think.
Okay, well, you need to make the most of your time there. Now, you are based in Milan, in Italy,
Yes,
the majority
exactly.
of the time. You are a machine tool consultant.
Exactly.
We've got an article that's been written in the MTD magazine, which was published in March, one of which that you wrote all about what they class as the machine tools and the factors involved when you're purchasing one, what you should look at. Now, firstly, tell us, Kazra, about your experience in this area and what leads you to be able to write a white paper like this.
Well, actually, I started as a machine tool designer. I mean, I started basically on the shop floor as an apprentice. But then I followed up my career on being a designer of machine tools. And I used to work in a couple of companies that build different types of machines, especially 5-axis machines. And after that, I followed up my career to sales in those companies, and now basically I'm just working as a consultant to a lot of different companies when they want to purchase a new machine tool or they want to add new technologies to their production or maybe renovate their whole production system.
So is this what you do now then? So you'll travel around Europe, and in fact it's
Exactly.
your territory, should we call it, EMEA, so we're talking about Europe and the Middle East. You will talk to companies that are looking at machinery and you'll advise them as to how to get the best return on their investment.
Exactly, yes. That's my main job here.
Okay, let's touch on maybe some of the without going into too much detail, because I'm sure there's a lot of sensitivity around some of the companies you work with, but the industries that you would be associated with, maybe quite pertinent to the current climate, the medical sector, automotive and aerospace, are they some?
Yeah, basically, I have a lot of customers that work in oil and gas industry, also medical and automotive and aerospace. So these are the four main sections that my customers, they work in.
Okay, now what we're going to do now is we're going to quickly go through the article that Kazra actually wrote, because I'm going to pick out some of these points that are very interesting. And really, if you don't get the MTD magazine, you need to subscribe for it on our website, which is mtdcnc.com. You'll be able to follow the links through to the magazine page. And then you can get one of these every other month. Now, in this March edition, we talk about machine tools. We talk about some of the technical factors that you need to look out for. Kazra, one of the first things I picked up on is you're talking about the stability and the condition of the machine to lower vibration. What are some of the long-term benefits of looking at that aspect?
Well, when you look at the machine tool, the design of the machine tool and also the rigidity of the machine tool plays an important role in the vibration damping. So when the vibration damping is achieved by the design of the machine tool, so your tool wear will be a lot less. So in a long period of time, for example, let's say for example you want to use this machine for 10 years, that will affect the cost that you pay for the tooling, And for example, if the design of the machine is efficient, then you will use smaller tools or shorter tools, so it will be more rigid, and also it can machine faster, and the tool wear is less. So in the long-term process, it saves you money.
And do you when you're looking around exhibitions, and I know we met you at EMO in fact last year, when you're looking around exhibitions, do you look at some machine tools, without giving the game away, some that do this better than others? I mean, I'm sure that must happen.
Of course, yes, that's my job. Since I don't promote any company and that makes machines, so I I try to find the new technologies and innovations within the new machines, and find the differences between these machines. For instance, for example, let's say multiple spindle machining. We have in Germany we have two big companies. First is Chiron, and the other one is SW. One is vertical, the other one is horizontal. So my main job is to focus that what are the benefits and which kind of components these two can produce better, you know. So when you look at the machines, the price-wise they are similar, or for example the features mostly similar, but there are small differences that are key differences, and my job is to find them.
And that will all depend on the application, of course. Now,
Exactly.
some of the other interesting ones you mentioned is about swarf management and how you handle the output of the swarf on the machine, because you believe that can obviously also have an impact on productivity and the longevity of it.
Exactly. Swarf management is actually very important because it can also affect the machine tool life cycle, and also it can reduce downtime. So if the machine is designed well, so it can easily eject and get rid of all the swarf and chips. So you don't need to stop the machine, you know, to clean it up most of the time. So that's a lot of time you can save in a long period.
I like the way you use the term swarf and chips there. I'm sure you're a big fan and you watch it. I mean, there is so much detail in this article. It really is worth a read. I'm just picking out some of a few of the points here. One of the other ones you mentioned, which intrigued me, is about the resale. Sometimes people buy machines and maybe they're not looking at what they're going to be able to sell it for if they need to in the future.
Exactly, because you have a project. Let's say, for example, you need the machine for like 5 years or 10 years. It depends on your orders. And after that time, you need to resell the machine. So sometimes, if, for example, it is a standard machine, so you can resell it easily. But if it is a special machine, sometimes you need to pay for just scrapping it and get rid of it. So there are different aspects about that.
There are other aspects, and again, I know I keep encouraging you to read it. You can actually download it on the website as well, and in fact listen to the MTD magazine these days. Something new for you. You mentioned things about delivery time, local support, which are critical to a machine tool purchase. I'm sure, but the last ones I'm going to pick out on it is about the EBITDA. Now this is quite interesting because you talk about a J curve. Can you explain what that means and why people should be looking at that?
Well, EBITDA is earning before interest, taxes, demonstration, and appreciation. It's a very important factor to sometimes get overlooked, unfortunately, and it's very important to calculate this parameter because it can show you how much you are actually earning, through this technology. So it's important is when you want to calculate your cash flow. So this J curve shows you that when you want to invest on something, and you have to look at the long term. So for example, after like say 5 years or 10 years, how your investment will get returned. So it will help you to calculate the ROI or return on investment.
It's interesting because what you're essentially saying is it's not necessarily about the outlay of a machine, it's about that compared to what it can produce for you over the course of its life. And the course of its life obviously includes some of the other aspects you touch on in your article about the build, energy consumption, air consumption. These are all other things as well, aren't they? I mean, you mentioned that the cleaning, the space occupied, and the automation needed. Kazra, just before we let you go, I just want to ask you one thing about your travels around Europe and the Middle East. Automation, where are you seeing most of it, and who's behind the curve?
Well, actually, if I want to say globally, it's rising. But for example, when I go to Scandinavian countries, you can see a lot of automation applied to their factories, and this helps them, to be in the game and also be competitive to others. For example, when I go to India, most of the things are done manually, and when you look at their profitability or their earnings, they are way, before. And these, for example, Scandinavian companies. In Norway, for example, there are small companies that are, as I can say, fully autonomous, and they are just printing money. But in other countries, such as I think Italy, or for example in the Eastern Europe, it's still behind. And I think in a few years, if they want to keep earning money, they need to invest a lot in the automation section.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Kazra, obviously tough times at the moment, especially around Italy and the rest of Europe. You are based in Milan. What's happening in the manufacturing side at the moment there with the contacts that you have and obviously within your business?
Unfortunately, these are tough times. So a lot of companies that I know, they are completely stopped for a temporary time, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks. It can be extended, and since nobody knows what's going to happen, I think they will start maybe in a few weeks, and by implementing some new measurements of caring, or some things that help people to work in the environment safer, I think the business will start up again soon.
So,
I hope so.
Your plan. Well, we wish you every luck with that. Obviously, we're watching the situation closely overseas as well here at home. You for the weekend, what are you going to do in Budapest then? Can you move around?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to explore the city.
Okay.
It's my second time here, but this time is not for business actually. So maybe I can explore it.
Maybe you got a copy of the latest magazine, have you? Maybe you could. I'm sure you'll be reading that in your hotel room. Kazra, thank you very much for joining us today on the MTD News. So there you have it, a fascinating insight. Kazra, I've met him. Emo, in fact, as I mentioned earlier. If you're interested in bringing someone into the business that can consult you on what could possibly be the best productive solution for your company, then Kazra's certainly worth talking to. Remember, we're doing these news feeds every day now. We'll have a different guest every day from a different area of industry. But as for now, that's it. Do subscribe to the MTD magazine if you're interested in features like we've spoken about today. And obviously keep tuned to the channel. We'll be back on Monday.